Hey everyone, Daniel Rubino here, and this is your Microsoft and Windows News Roundup. Let's get to it. Windows 10, Windows Core OS, forget about it. We're going to talk about Windows 1.0. Why? Well, we really don't know. Although by the time this video goes live, we may have a better idea. What I'm talking about is Microsoft's social media presence has been touting Windows 1.0, including running a little teaser video on their Instagram and Twitter accounts as to why. Well, we really don't know, although speculation has it, it probably has to do with Stranger Things, with Season 3 launching on Netflix, and we don't know the exact details there, but it is coincidental that Windows 1.0 came out in November 1985, and while Stranger Things Season 3 also happens in the summer of 1985, which means teasing Windows 1.0 could have very well happened had Twitter and Instagram actually existed back then. Hopefully we'll get more information about this. There's also some speculation that Microsoft may open source Windows 1.0 and just make it freely available, which would be kind of fun and in line with what they've been doing lately, but we'll have to wait and see what their actual plans are. Let me know in comments what you think. Next up, the NVIDIA RTX Super Series. That sounds like a race. Well, it's not. They are new cards coming out to the market. The RTX 2060 Super, RTX 2070 Super, and yes, RTX 2080 Super. All these are optimized cards. After a year from the RTX series coming out, NVIDIA's gone back and tweaked things a little bit. What it means is you're going to get some more graphics memory. Things are going to be a little bit faster, a little bit more cores. You know how this goes. We're looking around 15 to 20% performance boost, so not a huge deal. If you have a 2070, you probably shouldn't go out and buy a 2070 Super unless you just really want that extra bandwidth for your gaming, but still super cool to see this stuff. Now, no word about if this is going to come to laptops in the future, but you know how NVIDIA rolls. They like to always release new updates, so we'll have to wait and see. Pricing for these will be in line with current cards, and you can, of course, get Founders Editions if you're really into that kind of thing. All right, next up is Huawei. They've been facing a ban from buying U.S. technology now for a little bit over a month. I've been saying this is just all political nonsense that has to do with trade negotiations between the United States and China. Instead, though, the issue has been confounded with security concerns over Huawei's 5G presence and networking technology. Well, all that apparently is gone as the Trump administration just waved their hand and said, nope, U.S. firms, you can now begin to sell technology back to Huawei, which means Huawei can start to sell its MateBook line of laptops again. Now, they could always sell those laptops, but they couldn't get the license from Microsoft for Windows 10, so that was a big issue. This also affected Android phones, where Huawei could not get a license through Android from Google, and all that apparently is now gone. Now, there are still security concerns from Huawei regarding its back-end technologies, but not necessarily its laptops and smartphones, of which I use and I enjoy myself. It goes to show you that a lot of this is political posturing. Let me know, though, in comments what you think about this, and are you still interested in those Huawei MateBook laptops? Next up is Cortana. So we've been talking about all the changes to Cortana on Windows 10 that have been happening, including the separation away from it from the search system. Now, there is a new Cortana experience coming apparently in 20H1. That is the version of Windows 10 coming in spring of 2020. Although people are getting access through it now through the Insider program, there's a way to turn it on. This version of Cortana looks like the version on iOS and Android that currently exists, and it's a little bit more geared for typing versus voice input, which is how a lot of people are using Cortana these days, for those of you who have actual access to a Cortana. Now, what's happened this week? Well, it turns out, as we expected, Cortana is now showing up in the store. This is all good news, as basically it's the appification of Cortana, which means now the Cortana system can be updated pretty regularly, just like it is on iOS and Android. Now, a lot of Cortana is back end, so it just changes in the cloud, but still it's nice to have the app itself coming to the store, as that means it's not reliant on twice-a-year OS upgrades like it currently is. So if there are bugs or no features that the Cortana team wants to roll out, well, they can just snap their fingers, release an update. Now, like I said, this won't come out until 2020, but you can get the app these days if you're on the Insider Fast Ring. Try it out yourselves. It is a sign of future things to come. The big question is, will Microsoft also allow other systems like Alexa now to plug into Cortana? It's not too clear yet if you can even uninstall Cortana as a system app, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But things are looking good if you're looking for more innovation around Cortana, or maybe just to swap it out with a new system. Who knows, maybe Google will even someday grace us with their Google Assistant. And for our final story, we're going to talk about Windows 10 19H2. This is the version of Windows 10 that's slated for fall 2019, and it's the one currently Windows insiders are testing. So what's the deal with 19H2? We haven't had a list of any new features coming out, nor are expectations high for it. Instead, as Microsoft announced this week, yeah, it's basically just a cumulative update. That means it's actually not going to have a big release. It's just going to show up like a monthly Patch Tuesday update, which means, of course, that you won't be interrupted with your work, as this is just a normal system. Now, as to what's going on with 19H2 for features, it's more about priming the system for what's coming next in 20H1, but it's also just fixes in there, optimizations, and making things better. Now, for some people, they've been asking Microsoft to do this a long time. Quit focusing on just introducing new features. Instead, fix bugs, get things working better. And this is probably a sign from Enterprise that they too want something like that. That means Windows 20 H1 for 2020 will probably have new features, and we'll get back on track for that. It remains to be seen, though, is Microsoft going to actually switch to a new system where they do one major feature update and then a second more cleanup update later on in the year, or it's just a one-time thing. You tell me down in the comments what you think Microsoft should be doing here. There's also the issue of Windows Core OS, which is actually coming out in 2020. In fact, our senior reporter Zach Bowden found a bunch of messages on LinkedIn of developers and people working at Microsoft who let the cat out of the bag that they're working on Windows Core OS, which goes to show you this thing is definitely coming along and it's a whole new OS experience. A lot of us believe that a lot of that team from Windows 10 are working on Windows Core OS, and that's where a lot of these features are going to. But we'll have to see what Microsoft has in store for us for 2020. Still, don't get excited though for 2019, at least later this year, as this update won't be a big one, but hopefully it'll fix any problems you have with Windows 10. All right, so that does it for this episode of your Microsoft and Windows News Roundup. If you want more information about these stories, just go to the description below. We'll have all the links to the original articles at Windows Central, where you can get more info there. Let me know in comments what your favorite story was and whether or not we missed anything. Otherwise, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.